Over the past couple of weeks, we have seen a flurry of lawsuits against high profile celebrity men who have been accused of SA. We have not seen many of the stories of the women who were just regular everyday women that filed a lawsuit in New York as well, because there were hundreds of them as well. This article was sent to me. This one says 750 victims file lawsuits against New York State, the state of New York, claiming that they were SA'd while in prison. Please keep in mind this video has very troubling topics, so this is your warning to click out of it. This is a challenging. Hundreds of previously incarcerated inmates are filing lawsuits against the state of New York for failing to protect them while they were in prison. About 750 victims have come forward as survivors of SA while they were in custody at New York prisons, according to the suit. The victims were held at Bayview Correctional Facility, Rikers, Bedford Hills, and other prisons across the state. Three survivors, including Mia Wheeler, were the first of hundreds of women to come forward. The officer first befriended me, and after the essays occurred, he let me know, in no uncertain terms, that we share the same borough and that if I would tell, that I would reap the repercussions. This lawsuit was brought under the Adult Survivors Act, which created a window for survivors to sue for civil damages regardless of the statute of limitations. Some of these SAs goes back as far as the 1980s. Ben Crump and Adam Slater are representing some of the victims and held a press conference to discuss the importance of the lawsuits. All of these women have suffered in silence, not for just years, but for decades, according to attorney Ben. Their attorneys say the women were sentenced to a life of trauma. They pointed to a report detailing the abuse of female inmates at Bayview. It was written in 1985. New York State knew for decades about the rampant SA. The Adult Survivors Act takes effect next week. Well, I'm sorry, it ended last week. Having a jury actually listen to their truth couldn't be more important for these women. Sadie Bell wants change, like having only female officers work with female inmates and other policies aimed at prevention that are long overdue. Sadie says, I was raped and impregnated by a correction officer, and I just want the truth to be told. Absolutely. They deserve to have their truth told. The Department of Corrections and Community Supervision released the following statement. The DOCCS has zero tolerance for sexual harassment, and unauthorized relationships. The department thoroughly investigates all reports of sexual victimization, including unauthorized relationships and retaliation against any individuals who report incidents or cooperate with those investigations. Staff have an affirmative duty to report any knowledge, suspicion, or information regarding an incident of SA or sexual harassment and any other unauthorized relationship. Individuals who violate department rules are disciplined by the department, and when there is evidence that a crime was committed, DOCCS refers those cases for criminal prosecution to the fullest extent permitted by law. So that is their statement. It sounded very PR-ish, and we shall see what comes of it when all of the evidence is presented. And I really do hope, I hope that this goes to trial and evidence gets presented and these women get to tell their story. This woman, Alexandria Johnson, actually gave a statement in another article. She says, for so long, I didn't have a voice and it didn't matter. I thought, like, who was I? Said Alexandria Johnson, who says she was raped multiple times while incarcerated in state prison and New York City jail. I have to keep going forward with this because it matters. There's so many stories, so many, not just mine. Now, with something like this, obviously, hospital stays and all of that will probably corroborate her timeline of things. And I really hope that women like her get the justice that they deserve.
Since all this has happened, I don't feel that big hole in me anymore because this is helping so much. I think it's not just my story being told. Marcus has a story too. Justice and this not happening anymore to females, them going in and having a chance to come out and, bettering their life, and being in there, it's not easy. And then when you're raped over and over and over and over again, and the people that you're supposed to look up to as an authority or be safe, they take everything from you. My water broke at 11:30 at night the day after I was raped, and it took them an hour and 45 minutes. I laid down in the hospital. They did the strip test where it says your water broke, and it still took them an hour, 45 minutes to call the ambulance, and it took them an hour to get into the gates. I lost Marcus at 4.5 months, and they tried covering it up. My story deserves to be told, and Marcus mostly, because I feel like he's just been forgotten. He had to die in the hospital all alone. Nothing's been done for him. No.
Precise counts for the Adult Survivor Act filings were not yet available this week, but there were over 2,500 filings in state court, with some lawsuits filed on behalf of multiple people. More than half of those filings were prison-related claims against the state. Hundreds of additional filings named New York City Corrections Department. The act was modeled after a previous New York law offering people abused as children a temporary window to file claims. By the time the Child Victims Act 2-year window closed in August 2021, almost 11,000 people had filed lawsuits, many involving the Roman Catholic Church. So many skeletons are still tumbling out of the closet, and so many of these stories need to be highlighted. You guys jump in the comments, let me know what you think. Like, comment,